So next part of geometric figures, we are getting into complementary and supplementary angles. And this is again module 11, lesson 11.2. And the learning target, I can identify complementary and supplementary angles and use them to write and solve equations um, to find unknown angle measures, okay? So, the first thing I want you to understand is the difference between complementary and supplementary angles. Okay. So, if I draw it out, okay, complementary angles, if I have this given to me, complementary angles basically, y'all, that is nothing but two angles that equal 90 degrees. So sum of two angles that equal 90 degrees is complementary. And supplementary would be where the sum of two angles, okay, sum of two angles is going to equal 180 degrees. Okay, so that is the difference. So this is complementary and this one is supplementary. Okay, so please remember again, I think the best way to remember in the alphabet, C comes before S. So 90 degrees comes before 180. So 90 degrees is complementary angles and 180 degrees, the sum of two angles equaling 180 degrees would be supplementary angles. So that is the first thing, the vocabulary for you to understand the difference between complementary and supplementary angles. Once again, complementary angles is a sum of two angles that equal 90 degrees. C comes before S, so 90 comes before 180, okay? And then the sum of two angles that equals 180 degrees is going to be supplementary angles. Please remember S comes after C, 180 comes after 90. So in case you get confused with the two and you flip it around, and we don't want to do that, and so complementary again 90 and supplementary is 180. So now that we've understood that, let's move on to identifying and solving some problems. Okay, so let's say I give you, given the measure of the angle, give the measure of the angle that is complementary. Okay, so I have this angle complementary to 60 degrees. Okay, so it's saying give the measure of the angle that is complementary to the given angle, which is 60 degrees. So the most important thing, what did we just talk about? That complementary angles are equal to 90 degrees. So knowing that, if I have already got 60 degrees, what would make it complementary? It would be 60 plus the value that makes it 90 degrees, right? So all I'm going to do is 90 degrees is complementary angles. So I would just do 90 over here. It's because I know that, what did I just say? 60 plus the x will give me 90 degrees, right? So this should actually be, this is going to be the complementary angle if I had done it this way. All right. So if I have 60 plus x is equal to 90 degrees, I am then going to go ahead and just solve that. Okay. And obviously going to do the subtraction property of equality. So minus 60 minus 60. Okay. And so x is equal to, what is it? 30 degrees. So 30 degrees is going to be the angle, and x is equal to 30. So the measure of the angle complementary to the 60-degree angle, this is going to be over here 30 degrees because it should add up to 90 degrees. Okay. Now, let's say I give you another one, and let me just remove this because we have talked about this. And if I say that I have an angle which is 23 degrees. All right. So what is an angle that is complementary to the given angle. So complementary again should equal 90 degrees. So x plus 23, or you can write 23 plus x. Okay, so or 23 plus x will equal 90 degrees. Okay, and so then you do just minus 23 over here. Okay, and so x is equal to, if I do 90 minus 23, I'm going to get 67 degrees. So what is an angle complementary to 23 degrees? It would be 67 degrees. And you can always check your work by substituting that value, because I know that 23 plus 67 is going to give me 90 degrees. Okay, now, um, so in order for me to find some missing values with complementary angles, all I need to do is I can use the value that I know about complementary. So let's say I have something like this given to me. Okay, and if I say that this is 36 degrees and this is 9x, all right, 9x degrees. All right. What is the value of x? And I know that in a complementary, this whole thing is how much? It's a right angle triangle, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to try to find the value of the missing amount, which is x. All right, and then I am going to see what is x. So that's what we are trying to find. Okay, so I know that angle, and let's say I name the angles. This is b, this is a, and this is c, and then I have sorry, this is d, and I'm going to make this as c over here. Okay, so we are going to first identify the complementary angles. And I know that BAC and CAD are complementary angles. That means when I add those two up, I will get 90 degrees measure. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to write an equation. And so 9x plus 36 will equal 90 degrees. And then all I do is I substitute I solve this two-step equation. And first I'm going to do is I am going to use the subtraction property of equality, because opposite of plus 36 would be minus 36. Okay, so here we go. And I do minus 36. Whatever I do on one side of the equation, I do exactly the same thing on the other side. So I do minus 36 here, and I get 9x is equal to, when I do 90 minus 36, I'm going to get 54. Okay, and now it's a one-step equation. So coefficient and the variable, that means multiplication is going on. So the inverse of multiplication is going to be the division property of equality. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9, and 9 divided by 9 gives me 1. 1 times x is x, and 54 divided by 9 gives me 6. So the value of this x is going to be 6. All right. And then obviously, I can substitute the value. If I have 54 and, so the value is 6 over here. And so then all I'm doing is 9 times 6 and plus 36 should give me 90 degrees. And that is measuring up to the correct amount. Okay, so now let's go ahead and identify, let's do another one maybe. Okay, first before we identify supplementary. Okay, so let's say I give you another one. Okay, and let's do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to give you another problem, and I'm going to just make it backwards, and it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is A, B, and D. And then I am going to go ahead and do this. And this is 28 degrees. This is 2x degrees. This is C. Okay. So if I give you something like this, and then I'm trying to ask you to find, write and solve an equation to find the value of x. Okay. So, all right, here we go. Now, in this case, again, I am looking at the angles over here, the measure of angle A, B, C. What is we have the measure of angle ABC, and we have the measure of angle CBD. And so we are going to take those two measures and we are going to add them up, because I know that in complementary angles, the sum of two angles is equal to 90 degrees, right? And whenever I put a little box like this or a square, that just signifies that it is a 90-degree angle, okay? So we have 2x plus 28 will equal 90 degrees. And then I'm just solving this equation. So this was the equation written out, and now next I'm going to go ahead and solve it. So opposite of addition is the subtraction property of equality. I'm going to subtract 28 from both sides of the equation. 28 minus 28 is 0. So I'm left with 2x is equal to 90 minus 28, and I get 62. Okay, and then coefficient and variable means what operation am I using? It is multiplication. So the inverse of multiplication is the division property of equality. Divide both sides by 2, and I get x is equal to 31. So the value of x over here is going to be 31. So this is how we solve problems, to find the unknown value in complementary angles. All right. So now we talked about supplementary. So let's move on to from complementary to supplementary. And we said that in supplementary angles, the measure of the two angles is going to equal 180 degrees. Okay. So we are going to use that knowledge to solve problems. Okay. Now, let's say I give you the measure of the angle, which looks like this. All right. And this is 135 degrees. All right. And so then it's asking, what is the measure of the angle that is supplementary to the given angle? What is supplementary to the given angle? So we know that for it to be supplementary, right? I'm just going to show you. It should be this. And what is that? A straight line. And that means it should be 180 degrees, the total amount of the two angles that are there. So the sum of the two angles should equal 180 degrees, okay, in a supplementary angle. So this is now supplementary. Supplementary angles equal 180 degrees. Okay, so all I do now, once again, I am going to write out an equation, and that is 135 plus this missing value, which is going to be x, should equal 180 degrees. Okay, and then I'm going to do solve the equation. I am going to use the subtraction property of equality to subtract 135 from both sides of the equality, because whatever I do on one side of the equation, I've got to do the same thing on the other. So minus 135, same thing here, minus 135. Okay, and x is equal to 180 minus 135 gives me 45. Okay, and so the measure of the angle that is supplementary to the given angle 135 is going to be 45. And if you actually like, then you just substitute the value. And what is x? We said 45. 135 plus 45 is definitely going to give me 180 degrees. So that's how we calculate the missing value. All right, so let's try another one really quick. Okay, and let's say I give you an angle like this, and I say this is 67 degrees. And so what is the angle measure of the angle that is supplementary to the given angle? That is supplementary to the given angle. So what we say, supplementary angles equal 180 degrees. So we can do a 67 plus x should equal 180. And so now again, we have the equation written out. So we are going to subtract 67 from both sides of the equation. Okay, so 67 minus 67 is 0. And x is equal to 113. So therefore, the angle which forms the supplement of this one of 67, that is 113 degrees. Okay, now we can also use the properties of supplementary angles to find the missing measures. Okay, so let's say I give you, and this is like how we had done just now for complementary, the same thing we are going to do for supplementary now. So if I give you something like this, okay, and I know a straight line is definitely what it is, 180 degrees, right? And then I do this, okay, and I say this is 108 degrees, and this is 4x degrees. Okay, and so now this is A, this is D, this is C, this is B. All right, so let's look at this one. And first, of course, we have to identify the supplementary angles. And the supplementary angles are angle ADB and angle BDC. These are the supplementary angles. And I know that both of these, when I add them up, I should get 180 degrees, okay, because that's what supplementary angles are. And so what we're going to do is we are just going to now take what values are in there in order to solve for the missing value, okay, of x. So we can write an equation, and we have 108 plus 4x should equal 180 degrees because these are supplementary angles, okay? And so then now we have a two-step equation, and we are going to subtract 108 because the opposite of addition is subtraction, property of equality. So minus 108, whatever I do on one side of the equation, I do exactly the same thing on the other side of the equation. All right, so I'm left with 4x is equal to 180 minus 108 gives me 72, right? And then again, opposite of multiplication is division. So division, property of equality, I'm going to divide both sides by 4, and I get x is equal to 72 divided by 4, and I get 18. All right, so the value of this x is going to be 18. So this is the way that we simplify. And let's do one last problem. And I'm going to take you to my whiteboard for this question. Here we go. All right. So I have this fencing given to me, the gate given to me like this. And it's saying write and solve an equation to find the value of x. So once again, All I'm doing here. All right. So I'm looking at this. So I know that these are supplementary angles because 10x plus 80 degrees, what is that? A straight line. And supplementary angles equals 180 degrees. So I'm going to write an equation first, and I'm going to say 10x plus 80 is going to equal 180 degrees. Okay, so that is my equation written out. And then I'm going to solve this equation. Opposite of addition is the subtraction property of equality. So I am going to subtract 80 from both sides of the equation, and I get 10x, and 180 minus 80 is going to give me 100. And then I am going to look at 10x, and that is multiplication. So the inverse of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 10 because that is the division property of equality. And then I get 10 divided by 10 is 1 times x is x, and the value of x is going to equal 10. All right. So basically that's what lesson 11.2 is about. And identifying complementary supplementary angles, as well as our ability to write them as an equation and to find the unknown angle measures. Okay, so just remember once again really quick, let's recap that complementary comes before supplementary. We think about always that C comes before S, and so that is why 90 degrees is coming before 180. The biggest mistake made is that y'all tend to forget the vocabulary which comes first, and then you switch them around, and that messes everything up. Okay, so that's a really good way to remember. Have a great day.